Hi everybody! Alright, so today I am going to start a series on basics of English paper piecing, and we're going to get back to the basics with my grandmother's flower garden. So this pattern is called Grandmother's Flower Garden, and this quilt actually was handed down to me from my grandmother. She had started it and never finished it, so she handed it down to me. I did a senior project in high school of quilting, and so she gave it to me then, and I have been slowly picking away at it since then, so 20 years. We won't say how long. This was my first English paper piecing quilt, and I wanted to do a video on this because I feel like in this day and age, with all of the modern advances, we kind of get in our own head about doing everything perfectly, having all the right tools, everything you need to get a quilt done, especially with machine piecing. If you've done a lot of machine piecing, you tend to want to make sure everything is precise, everything's perfect, you have all the right tools, and you really do not need much to do English paper piecing, which is the beauty of it. So this quilt was started probably in the 50s or 60s. I actually have newspaper patterns that she cut out, and I don't think she even started this quilt. I think this was actually started by her mother. So I have newspaper patterns that she cut out, and I actually went through every single one of these. I don't know if I set it aside. Oh yeah, here it is. And one of them had a date, 1947. So at the very least, they were newspapers or magazines that were from that year. So I would guess 40s to 50s, just because, you know, in the 50s they may have had a 47 newspaper magazine laying around that this was started. So really no huge tools, no sew clips, no sew ties, no clips, no anything special when this was started. And I just wanted to kind of go through what she did and how I started, because all I did when I started was do what she did. I really didn't pick up any advanced techniques until I started on a Queen of Diamonds about a year ago. This was the only quilt I ever worked on before Queen of Diamonds, and I just wanted to show how simple you can really start and how simple sometimes you should keep it, to be honest. So like I said, she just did magazine cutouts. It's a you know, I don't even know what size these are. I don't think I have my tool. Hold on. Okay, so I never measured these, but I have this little tool that I got from Pink Door for measuring your stitches. So this is about 1 inch. Okay, so I'd say these are about 3/4 of an inch. So the way you measure a hexagon is you measure it on this side. So this is the measurement. So if this is 1/2 inch, that's a 1/2 inch hexagon. If this is 1 inch, it's a 1 inch hexagon. So this is a 3/4 of an inch hexagon. And the way she cut these out, if I have, maybe it's not in here. She had a template. Did I lose my template? I might have lost my template. So she did have a template. Oh, I just have this template. Okay, so she had a template, but I don't have the actual template. I've actually just been reusing her. She had a ton of them, and I've used them over and over and over again. So you can see, like I said, it's just magazine paper. They've literally been used 5-10 times each. So again, you don't need any special paper. You don't need anything, you know, super fancy for this. And she thread basted. So I was given this spool of thread and this really thick needle to do this quilt. This is what I was given with the kit when I got it from my grandmother. And all of these flowers were grouped together. So she thread basted all the flowers, grouped them together into a stack. So she had 6 of one color and then looks like 12 of another color to make the flower. And then yellow for the center. So she didn't put a yellow with it. So we just made our own yellows. And yeah, it was just super basic. Even the fabric was not cut. So like when I do my videos, I usually cut them. So if I was cutting a hexagon, I would actually cut it to a hexagon shape. She would cut circles. So this was her circle pattern for the fabric. And I have a couple here of extra fabric that I made. So she would just cut out the circle, and the circle would fit around the hexagon, and literally just fold it over and thread baste each of these. And that was the way that I did it and that she did it, and it was just super basic, easy, literally a needle and thread, the templates, and fabric, and that was it. So sometimes we can get in our own head about English paper piecing, that we need, you know, all the clips and all the sew tights, that you have to cut your fabric to a certain shape, that you have to have that 3/8 inch no matter what. I mean, obviously this is not 3/8 inch, it's not even, it's a circle. So the most important thing is that your templates are precise and that you have a needle and thread. I mean, because you can't put it together without a needle and thread. And other than that, you're pretty much ready to go for English paper piecing. It's amazing how caught up in all the extras that we can get. And so I just wanted to quickly show this quilt that I have worked on for probably 20 years and probably will still work on for another 20. I actually haven't gotten back to this since I started Queen of Diamonds. And how simple things can be, because I think that should be the starting ground. If you're new to English paper piecing, your starting ground should be to just find a fabric that you love, find a template that you like, get a needle and thread and some scissors, and just get started. That's all you need to do. So let me move this quilt out of the way so it's not so distracting, and I'll kind of show you how these flowers were put together, how I thread basted them, and we'll just show the really simple starting steps of English paper piecing. Okay, so I got everything that I need out to work on this. So again, we're starting super basic with this bare minimum that you need to get started. So some sort of clips. I like my little, these are like nail clipper scissors, thread, your templates, and fabric, and a needle. And that's really all you need to get started. So like I said, on this particular quilt, my grandmother cut circles. Circles are an easier shape to cut than the hexagons. So I have not used any glue on these. I didn't even know glue existed when I was working on this. So I've just thread basted the whole time. I would probably still use glue personally in English paper piecing, but I'm going to show you how to thread baste this, which is something you'll probably, the only time you'll ever see me thread baste. So again, this isn't, I don't even know what weight this thread is, but it's not necessarily the best thread, but I'm going to stick with the thread that I've been using just to keep it consistent. And I'm going to show you, so I was using these really thick needles. This is what was given to me by my grandmother. That's what she used. And these are my normal needles that I use. And so even though you really can use any needle, I would definitely still suggest going with a smaller needle for English paper piecing. If you're going to start off with good equipment. And so small needles are really good for English paper piecing because it will catch just a couple threads and make your life a lot easier when you're pulling it through. So these are tulip size 10 big eye needles, and that's what I would definitely suggest getting when you start out. Start out with the best. So we're gonna go ahead and thread this. We always use a single thread when we English paper piece. It just makes life a lot easier. I never knot my thread, even when thread basting we don't knot. And so if I were to do this not the way that I always did it before, if I were to thread baste, I would actually put a dot of glue in the middle so that this pattern didn't slide around. Because when I was making this, I did find that sometimes when I came to the next part, I would have a big piece here and a little piece here, and that's again not the end of the world, but it does make a difference if your paper's not sliding around. So you can do a hybrid. If you don't want to glue all the way, do a little hybrid. Just put a dot of glue so that that paper does not move, and it'll make your life a lot easier. But we're going to show you right now how to do that without the glue. So we're basically trying to show you with the minimal amount of tools possible how you can English paper piece, okay? So we have fabric, we have our paper, and basically all you're gonna do is you fold over one edge. And I like to go through the paper. Never had any issue reusing the paper by going through it. And I just stitch twice in place so that that thread will stay there. So you don't need a knot. It makes it a lot easier to get these basting threads out if you don't do a knot anyways. Okay, and just kind of finger press a little bit so that you get a nice crisp edge. And then you're just gonna fold over the next one, and you wanna go from the corner, so you're catching that corner out. So you can see that basting thread goes right over that corner. That's what you want, so it keeps it in place. So you can see, because I didn't glue this down, this is shifting a little. You can kind of shift it back, but it does tend to move. So if you want to regularly thread base, I would definitely suggest personally gluing that paper down. But we're just gonna keep going here. So again, catch that corner. And you do want to fold right against that paper so you're getting a nice good shape. You can kind of feel where that paper is easily enough. And you can see my last few edges here are a little smaller. It's just the way, I mean, maybe I'm just not good at thread basting, I don't know, but I always find that my paper shifts when I thread baste, which is why I like glue basting, but that's okay. We'll make it work. And it's still enough there. But you can see, again, you don't have to stress out about what size your seam allowances are. You don't have to stress out about all that stuff. Obviously this is a circle. There's no specific, I mean, obviously she made sure the circle was big enough that we had a good seam allowance, but it's really probably the most simple way of quilting, and I think gets you your best results too. Okay. So we're gonna do one more here. And I do like to go back over that corner so that it stays nice and good. And then just cut your tail, and you can cut it pretty long so that it's easy to find later. So no knots, no nothing. And there you go, you have your shape. And it is a little wonky. You can see this side's a little shorter than the rest. I'm a little out of practice with thread basting anyways, but it's not the end of the world. This is the great part about this, is you can make it work. So you can see this was a flower that I actually started, and you can actually see that this piece overlaps this piece right now because of the way that they fit together. And that is not something to undo. It doesn't really matter. Once these papers come out, you're never even going to know that that overlapped. So all you would do is just fold it, line it up as best you can, and start stitching. And actually, you know, I'll go ahead and stitch this line for you so you can see how that overlapping really doesn't affect anything. So I already had a thread started here, so we'll go ahead and thread my needle here to trim the end. And so you can see, again, quite an overlap, but all we're going to do is fold it. And again, I didn't have clips, I didn't have magnets, I didn't have anything. I just held this with my hand. All of these flowers, some were already made by my grandmother, but I actually did most of these. She just had most of the pieces, either just had them thread basted. Most were thread basted for me, which was nice. I just had to thread base a lot of the white, or she already pre-made the flowers. There were quite a few that were just already flowers, and then I had to put the path in. So you can see how I have a little lump there. I'm easing in because I want this end to meet, so I want it to meet end to end. So just like I did on Queen of Diamonds where we eased in, I'm easing in my grandmother's flower garden too. So I'm just gonna kind of stitch along and kind of catch that, and you're never even going to notice that that side was a little bit longer than the other one. And these stitches will probably look nicer than any of my other stitches because I've definitely learned how to take smaller stitches now. And when we come to the end, we'll do a double stitch and do our little knot. So you loop through 3 times, pull it tight, and you get your knot. Okay, so I'll just put my needle here, and now you can see, you can't even tell that that didn't fit originally. So I would just keep going. I'll probably have that piece of, this goes with this. In my bag? I'll have to find the piece, but I would just keep going and finish that off, and then just do the next round of stitching. So that's basically how that works. So you can see I just did one of my hexies. All I had were scissors, needle, thread, fabric, and my templates, and that's it. That's all you need. So don't stress out, don't, you know, overthink it as far as quilting is concerned. All the tools are great. Obviously I use them in some of my other videos. I show you how I use them. They definitely make things a little bit easier, but I wouldn't stress out about finding or getting all of the new tools. You can just start with just the basics. Okay, so a little bit more about this grandmother's flower garden. Like I said, I think it was done in the 50s or 60s. I was thinking maybe even the 30s. I was thinking maybe these were feed sack fabrics, but I now do not think that's the case, because if you look at the weave on these one, this is the original fabric that was given to me by my grandmother. It's a tighter weave, and I actually bought some fabric off of eBay that is feed sack fabric, and you can see it's a much looser weave. So I don't think this quilt is as old as the 30s, most likely the 40s, 50s, 60s, and then it was just worked on from there. So probably the fabric itself, I would guess, is probably 60s. So this is probably going to be a lifetime project. I don't even think I can get it too big because I don't have too many flowers left to do. I have to figure out what I'm going to do with that. But it is a beautiful quilt. This is where I started 20 years ago. And when I got back into quilting after a 7-year hiatus, I used to be a big machine quilter. I wanted to do something that was more on the go and that I could do by hand. And so I thought of this quilt, and I just wanted a more interesting pattern than, not that Grandmother's Flower Garden is too bad, but obviously I already have one. So that's how I found Queen of Diamonds and started working on that, and just kept going from there and keep going and on to the next one and what have you. So hopefully this video, I know it's just a quick little short video, but hopefully this video inspires you to keep things basic. It doesn't always have to be complicated. You don't always have to do everything perfect or precise. It'll all work out. As long as your templates and your papers are precise, everything else will work out in English paper piecing. So thank you everybody for watching. If you subscribe to my channel, YouTube will alert you when I post a new video. I do post them pretty sporadically, so that'll help you find that. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. It really makes my day to hear what you think, or hear your ideas on English paper piecing. I'm glad that this art form is getting a resurgence. I think in this world today, we try to do everything fast, and slow stitching is just a nice way to keep yourself grounded and keep things slow, which is nice. So let me know what you think. Let me know any tips or tricks that you have, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks everybody.